Hi, you've tuned in to Radio Northern Beaches, your Listen Local station, right here on the Northern Beaches of Sydney. You can find us on your radio dial at 88.7 and 90.3 FM. Can't get to a radio? No worries. You can always stream our program live from anywhere in the world at rnb.org.au. And for listening on your own schedule, our podcasts are available globally at rnbpodcast.com.au. So be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Now, here is our latest podcast. Today we're talking to Harry. Thank you for coming in again, Harry. Harry is from Brookvale Industrial Maintenance, which is BIM, and they're a remedial building company, and that's why he's one of the experts that I asked to come in and talk to me about waterproofing, because water ingress is such a problem in our buildings right now. So Harry, what is the DBP Act and why was it introduced?
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Chrissy. The DBP Act in our industry is a hot topic at the moment. It stands for the Design and Builders Practitioners Act 2022. And essentially, it's been introduced to New South Wales to improve the quality of the construction work carried out, and in particular on Class 2 buildings, which is a multi-unit residential building. In layman's terms, any apartment block, basically. It establishes accountability for the design and the building professionals, ensuring compliance within the BCA and other standards. And the Act in itself aims to prevent defects in the industry, in particular the most common defect in construction, which is waterproofing.
Which has been a major cause of building failures, yes?
Yeah, waterproofing. If you own a unit or have any interest in a unit or know someone that owns a unit, you will know someone that has somewhere across the line come into waterproofing issues. If you're purchasing a unit, they'll be looking for problems in past or future, and even new buildings. Anything built really past 2020 all seem to leak, hence why this Act's been brought in by the Building Commissioner's Office.
And how does the DBP Act affect waterproofing works in Class 2 buildings?
Any waterproofing now carried out on a Class 2 building requires what's called a regulated design, meaning that it is essentially a drawing carried out by a design practitioner, which would be an engineer or an architect or anyone that holds a design practitioner's license. That work then has to be installed by a building practitioner that has to be registered, and the designs are lodged on the New South Wales planning portal. So the process is similar now to a CDC or a DA that you usually get on a residential home. And they so want to ensure that waterproofing is done correctly, that it's going to be lodged on the planning portal forever.
So this ensures that waterproofing is done correctly, reducing the risk of defects that lead to costly repair of water damage. Do unit owners need to comply with the DBP Act for minor waterproofing repairs?
Yes, so this can be a little grey, this area, and there are a lot of questions around this, because now where you would previously seal up a balcony if it had minor leaking or potentially change the grout, from where we're standing on a legal point, if we touch anything on a balcony relating to the waterproofing, it must comply with the DBP Act. There is what's called the Emergency Works Act. However, that covers what is an emergency, being you can usually cover it with a tarp or do something that is very, very minor with the intention of going forward with upgrading the waterproofing membrane to comply with the DBP Act.
How does the DBP Act impact strata committees and owners' corporations?
The strata committees and owners' corporations are responsible for maintaining the common property, which includes the external waterproofing now. As we know, that is everywhere on buildings, from the rooftop to planter boxes to balconies to bathrooms. The waterproofing is a major component of any construction, certainly Class 2 buildings. Now, the strata committees are the decision makers as well, and previously, before the Act, would usually be up to the committees to make the decisions on what's best for the building. Now, what the Act has done is actually taken that responsibility from the owners and put it in the hands of the engineers and the design practitioners.
Okay.
Meaning that now that the work has to be carried out to their scope. So if any work needs to happen on those balconies or those planter boxes or that roof, you can no longer just seal up an area or there's a crack here, we know where the leak is, let's just fix this area. That's finished now. You can't do that anymore. We have to treat it as one area, and it has to be done in its entirety, which, as you can imagine, has caused a stir in the industry, because it means what potentially would have been a $5,000 to $10,000 job request to fix a crack or a pop tile, or even sometimes when the membrane dishes down into a drain, Now, a consultant or engineer will look at that and apply the law, meaning the whole area has to be done. So if it's a 100 square metre rooftop, you're looking at maybe the best part of $500,000 to fix that rooftop, because it's all got to be done properly, because warranties have to be in place under the DVP Act. The drawings are lodged on the planning portal, and both builder and design practitioner are liable for 10 years, which is a big part of this, which is good for owners because warranty is everything. And these jobs now have to be done so well and correct that anything that goes wrong, there's someone to get back to fix, essentially.
Okay. So can any unit owners hire any contractors for remedial waterproofing works inside their lot?
No, well, the short answer is no. The waterproofing work has to be carried out by a registered building practitioner. That is someone who's gone through a course and met a set of standards that mean they are able to do the work and have license to do the work.
So do tilers come into that? Do they do it, or do you have to have the specialist first?
Well, if the tiler is a building practitioner, then yes, they can. But I would check that before I got any work done with waterproofing, because builders are just as bad before the act, just as guilty as cutting corners. Certainly when they're discussing a job with a client, I've witnessed it many times, to keep in the interest of the client, to keep costs down, to have a more likely chance of winning a job, will suggest a easier method or a way that they can keep costs down, which usually involve cutting corners in some way. That can't happen anymore, because it's usually those corners that are cut, which is why something fails in 2 to 3 years or even 10 years. The reality is it shouldn't, and the Act's been brought in to reduce that risk.
Okay, what should unit owners do if they suspect defective waterproofing?
Well, accountability. All these buildings have stratas and they have a hierarchy to go to. As I said, only registered practitioners can perform the work. It means they'll be licensed. Licenses will be able to be searched. ABN numbers can be searched online. And even before awarding a job to a contractor of any kind, licenses should be checked and previous work. If you do a job over $20,000, you have to apply for home warranty, and those home warranties on any previous job were all lodged online on the Fair Trading website. You can search anyone's license. You can search ours and see that they're all there, and there's proof of those works happening. So it's all about transparency and accountability.
Just give us your website address again.
bimsydney.com.au.
So does the DPA Act apply to older Class 2 buildings needing waterproofing repairs?
Yes. If the remedial waterproofing work is significant and falls under the regulated design, it must comply with the DVP Act, even in older buildings. However, minor maintenance may not have to require the compliance declarations, but as I mentioned, it would have to fall under the Emergency Works Act.
The laws are constantly changing as far as builders and the acts. Let's talk about when I was in the industry. There were many times where I would have an owner come to the strata manager and say, I've got water ingress. The owners corporation are telling me it'll get fixed eventually. To live in water ingress is a really uncomfortable situation. Of course, it causes mould, dampness. It's all right for anybody that's not sitting in it and living in it. It's one of the most uncomfortable issues for a unit owner or someone in a house that's got water ingress.
I see a lot of it, and I see a lot of pain and certainly a lot of difficult situations. As you know, we work for strata companies, and by the time a lot of jobs get to us, even at quoting stage, there's what most people would have already heard of as NCAT. A lot of these works are going legal because they're growing. Projects are growing where they used to be, let's seal up the balcony or let's just fix it temporarily till we do a major project. That has grown now into, okay, let's put this off because we need to raise money for it. Right? Buildings don't have unlimited funds, and that's one thing that the engineers and consultants don't take into account because they are playing from the rule book of the law, and the amount of money in their sinking fund is irrelevant. And you're right, most units in Sydney do leak in one way, whether it's through a cavity flashing, through a bathroom above, through doors or windows that are too old, or just generally through the building being old or the roof leaking. So they all have some kind of water ingress, and it does cause a lot of problems. As I've witnessed, real estate agents commonly refer back to tenants and say, well, keep all your doors and windows open just because you've got to vent it out.
But that's for the mould. The water problem is a whole different story.
Well, that's right, but they can be linked as well, where if the cavities are constantly saturated full of water, you've essentially got a fridge that you're living in, and that's when mould does grow. And ventilating will help, but those cavities are unblocked and working as they should and fit for purpose. You wouldn't have the problem there in the first place. And it's really diagnosing that correctly and engaging the correct consultant to do that. But the process is a little bit difficult because you've got tenants that report to real estate agents that then report to stratas, and it has to go through a lot of set of hands, and it's a slow process, which is frustrating for owners.
Especially when you've got water coming in.
Exactly, and that's why we deal with so many stressed out strata managers, as you know yourself.
Because,
I do. You guys get calls all day, every day from stressed out occupants of units in some capacity that want something fixed, and the Act has certainly slowed it down. If you've got a leaking unit and you need it fixed, say it's a balcony above, they're getting 3 quotes, you've got to tender it out, win the job, plan it in, get it lodged, and it's now become a big process. It's not just get in, rip the tiles up, slap a new membrane down and tile it up and move on. It's a whole process now. It's a good process, don't get me wrong. It's great for the industry because it will reduce the amount of defects, and it will certainly reduce people wasting money on committees. Previous to the Act, the behaviour from owners, amount of owners I even still meet now, they call us out and there's a defective roof and they say, yep, the leak's there, we know where it is, we just want you to fix that part, and that's all.
And you can't do that anymore.
No, that's right. There are still builders out there that will, and I just hope that they sleep well at night, because there will be ramifications of that, carrying out these works that do not comply with the Act. I don't know what they are yet. I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a builder that's playing by the rules, but it's our duty of care in that situation to talk people through, and this is all I do at the moment, is I'm talking people through the Act, the implications to them. If you're the chairperson on a committee, the liability, I'm not saying it falls solely with you, but you do have a duty of care to do the right thing for the building. Whether or not you're thinking of the money or the timing, it has to follow the rules of the Act. There's no getting around it.
And these people are volunteers on the Owners Corporation, and the majority have no idea of building regulations, how it all works, even how the structure works. So many times I found that there was a leak. We had to send the specialists out to actually put dye down and follow this leak, because a leak can actually wander wherever it wants to go, wherever it's able to go, and often the leak that you see at the bottom is nowhere near where the leak started, which complicates matters as well.
Exactly right, and that's why it's got to be done properly. And the consultant or engineer that's chosen will most likely diagnose that correctly and fix it, or engage the right builder to fix it. There is a term I've heard thrown around a little bit, which is over-engineered, which I'm sure you've heard that over the years, and engineers love that one when they're told that. But it's at the end of the day, their licence is on the line. They have to comply with this Act and the laws that go with it. And if they register a design on that is lodged on the New South Wales planning portal that is wrong, then it's there forever. There's no getting around it, and they'll have to defend it. If it doesn't comply in any capacity, they'll have to say why they chose that and why they decided to do it that way. So
this also sort of butterfly effects onto the builders, because I was involved with a property in Cremorne that was only 3 years old, and yet the balconies were leaking and whatever. The waterproofing had never been done correctly in the first place. So the builders now have to fit to that standard as well, don't they?
That's right, and that's actually what the Act was brought in, right? You've got the Mascot Towers, you've got the Opal Towers, they're all faulty, badly built, and the Act's really been brought in because of that. That's been the catalyst to drive this Act. And there are a lot of angry people that feel like it shouldn't be in the remedial industry for, the old 60-year-old buildings, because it's very difficult sometimes to take the modern codes and the current codes and to apply them to a 60, 70, 80-year-old building, that it just is super hard, and a lot of them struggle to do that, and that's when it can become very costly. You've got old brick balustrades that are heavy on buildings and now are difficult to waterproof. So the engineer says, we don't like the weight and we're not comfortable with waterproofing it, so we're going to take the bricks off. And owners go, we don't want to do that. But that's where the power's gone from the owners now. They don't have a choice. This is what's got to happen. If you want sign off, and trust me, I believe apartment buildings that have a registered design waterproofing system in their building consistently are going to be much higher in value than buildings that don't, or that have tried to avoid the Act or put works off.
Now, Harry, Harry, I know for a fact, because I was around at the time, that you went through the waterproofing courses and you're fully qualified in this area.
Our company, BIM Remedial, is all about training and growth, and I myself have done the Cert 3 waterproofing course with the Master Builders. It's quite an intensive course. It's 9 days, all at the weekend as well, consecutively, so the wife was super happy about that. But it was great to be back in a classroom and learning again and making sure we are doing the right thing and we're up to the current codes and practices that are out there. We make a habit of sending our staff there as well to do that course, because it's important to know. Waterproofing used to be known as the lowest job. We'll just give a guy a bucket of liquid and a brush and go, let us know when you've covered all that wall, and that's where the problems come from. It's a real science, and certainly with technology, we've got sheet membranes now that are made in a factory, need to be heat welded together. It's a real art to it, and us and the team are very proud of what we do, and we sleep well at night knowing that when the heavy rains come, nothing's leaking.
Okay, so BIM's all about educating not only their staff, but also educating the public and the people that they're actually doing things for. So when you go out quoting, you're also educating at the same time, aren't you?
That's right, and myself and Ali, actually, who works in our office, we've been discussing potentially putting on a talk to invite owners along to, just to give a bit more awareness about this Act, because there's a lot of questions out there and a lot of confusion with the Act and how to navigate through it, because people just don't know. It's there online to read, but it's a big Act, and unless you're a lawyer, you may not be able to follow it all exactly just by reading it online. So talking to us, I do my best to fill everyone in as best I can with my duty of care, because I don't know everything, don't get me wrong. I just put my best foot forward, and we can only go off our last job and working in and around the northern beaches. We're quite a presence on the beaches now, which is good. I always get feedback that people see us, see our vehicles, see our signage. As you probably know, we're quite heavy on the signage. We don't mind.
Yeah, I watch the cars go past quite often.
We're proud of our branding. We're now one of the minor sponsors of the Manly Sea Eagles as well, where we do our work events down there. So we get the team into it. I've got massively into it, actually. I've got a young 7-year-old boy who I take down now. We sit on the hill and we look up at the BIM sign. It makes you proud. But we are a growing team that we're proud of our staff and what we're doing. And it's great to see that everyone's happy. And with all honesty, it sounds corny, but people are happy when they're learning and they're doing the right thing.
And you put information on your website to help educate people as well when they come looking for information or some direction. Your website helps.
That's right. There are fact sheets as well. And with all honesty, because we are a builder, we're slightly less credible than I could say an engineer or a consultant, because it's like doctors really. We are the builders. If we said something and an engineer said something, 10 out of 10 people would listen to the engineer over us, which is fair enough. We know our place. So we're just helping with the information rather than telling you this is what you've got to do. That's how I see it anyway. I think we're there just to try and guide the people towards the right direction.
Yeah, sometimes it's very hard to get to an engineer to actually just talk to them. They're so flat out. And it's great to be able to come somewhere or be directed somewhere where you can get some information and get some knowledge and then make a bit more of an informed decision.
Yeah, exactly. And people call our office all the time and they usually get put through to me. I discuss things, 10, 15 minutes. I run through their particular building. A lot of the time it's people that have got a report in front of them. They've maybe been down the tender process or aren't happy going down the tender process and want to seek some clarification or a second opinion, which, I'm always happy to give. But I generally, any kind of waterproofing work where they've got a report, I say to them, look, this is the journey you're going to be taking. Your choice is the engineer and the builder. That's the rules. They don't change. So I also call it the triangle of trust. When there's a committee, an engineer and a builder, it's really important they all trust each other. Without that trust, the job will most likely go wrong in some capacity. I try and install that trust from the moment first being on site with people, tell them exactly how it is. No lies, no hidden costs. It's full transparency.
Excellent. Well, Harry, you've been absolutely wonderful in giving us all that information, because it is such a complex situation. And as with every act, there are other acts that buy into it as well. So you can't just read an act and think you're an expert on it, because there's all sorts of different little arms that stretch out into other acts.
Exactly, yep.
So we're going to have to talk to you again about some more things as usual. But thank you for coming in and talking to us and giving us this information, because there are so many people asking about it at the moment. Possibly give Harry a call and have to talk to him if you are in need of help.
Thanks very much for having me, Chrissy. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Australia. the lucky country. We've got meat pies. We've got the world's best beer. But most importantly, top of the list, we've got Radio Northern Beaches 88.7, 90.3. Now hitting the entire world on www.rmb.org.au.